Cowboy fans and YouTubers. It's that VA Dallas Cowboy fan coming back at you. Thank you for liking, sharing, subscribing, and commenting down below. I make these videos for me and you, and they're a little therapeutic. We can all breathe a sigh of relief. Jerry Jones lives. He's alive. I don't know where he's been up to. There are reports that he took a trip to Alaska or something like that. He was spotted on his yacht near Seattle. So apparently he lives. He's just been on vacation this whole time. We haven't heard from him. He hasn't really had a reason to want to talk about anything. But today was an important day. It's their first press conference of training camp. So we had Jerry, Steven, and Mike McCarthy speak. I didn't catch, too much of their press conference. It was over by the time I got onto it. And I did try to catch some bits of it as I came back, where Jerry did talk about the platform of the team, to what it's been doing for the past 30 years of his ownership to make it what it is today, how it's revolutionized a bunch of stuff that's been going on, how he's been able to, whenever nobody talks about the team, he's always like, no. What do you mean something not about the team? No, come back over here and look about my team. He's very much been hands-on with trying to get everybody to look at their product. That's what he claims, and that has been true for 30 years. That's why they are the most expensive franchise in the world. He talked about the challenges of the season with new head coaches, no training camp per se, no preseason, the COVID-19 and everything. And he's talked about challenges of what the future may lie that they just don't know about. There's just too many variables to where he can't, put a pinpoint on something unless, known by medical personnel. So he's just going to go with the flow like everybody and everything else. He talked about his number one interest are the fans, because he said that fans will be in AT&T Stadium this year. He knows that other teams have shut down their stadiums to all fans because of the virus, but he believes that the stadium is equipped enough to where most of the people who will come in for a game will probably never even meet each other. They won't touch each other. They won't come in contact with each other. That's how big AT&T Stadium is. I personally do not know. I have not had a chance to go myself. Someday I want to. My wife is actually willing to go with me, but I don't know if that's something that's like a day trip, fly out, take the tour, and come back, when everything gets better or not. Take the kids, have fun out in Texas. But we'll have to see. But he believes his number one interests are the fans and taking care of the fans. Unlike Daniel Snyder, who said his number one interests are the sponsors. You remember that when they were talking about the discussion of changing the team name and everything, and he said number one was the sponsors, number two was community, and number three was the fans. So that's how he gives a crap about you Washington football fans as a whole. He doesn't really give a crap about y'all. It's all about him and his pockets and his money. Dallas, on the other hand, is about the fans. It may not be the same since the 90s as far as winning championships on the field, but off the field, you can't deny that they are the best team in all of sports. Let's see. He talked about somebody talked about the national anthem. He's already said where he stands with that and how he wants everybody to toe the line, but he does acknowledge that he does back his players. He does listen to his players about social issues and all that. So he heard what Tank and McCoy and everybody was trying to call him out. He knows. He can hear that noise, but he doesn't have to, well, for some reason, unlike Jerry, he doesn't have to respond to it in public. Excuse me. That's why I'm thinking it's starting to seem more and more like Steven taking over the team. Because you see him being head first in a lot of the stuff that's been going on more than Jerry recently. Jerry's kind of taking the back seat to everything that's been going on. That's new to us. He's been behind the scenes on a lot of stuff instead of out front of it. It's just very unusual, you know. Is he retiring? Is he starting to see the writing is on the wall and he wants to take himself out of the picture, so to speak, out of being out in front of everything to do with the Dallas Cowboys? Because he's starting to see that, you know, all the attention grabbing that he's been doing over the years isn't exactly helping the team. Not on field, at least. The on-field product can just suck. But he can talk it up like there's no other. But that's just some tidbits from his portion. I did not get to see the questions posed to Mike McCarthy or Stephen Jones at the time. Because, like I said, I caught on late and Dak Prescott has started his conference. And first thing I noticed, unlike Tony Romo, Dak Prescott's wearing a Dallas Cowboys baseball cap. He is representing and sporting the team apparel. Romo famously never wore any Dallas Cowboys apparel during press conferences. He wore a basic blue cap with, I think, just the NFL logo on it or something like that. But it was very basic and had nothing to do with the team. And years ago, people wondered why he did this, and I think he explained it, but I can't remember right offhand. But that's the first thing I noticed. But he got asked a bunch of questions, you know, from his negotiations, which he said there was probably fallout between his side and their side. It just didn't come together, but he's here now. He is a Cowboy, and he still wants to be a Dallas Cowboy for life. So that put the kibosh on that for now. He said he'll worry about negotiations and all that next offseason when it's time. Until then, he's focused on football, which led into somebody asking him about building the football field. And he said with everything going on, he wanted to interact with his teammates, you know, even though he can't do more than the virtual playbooks and all that was coming out. He can still get them together, get the skill position guys together and run some routes and, you know, kind of clean up stuff, get crisp. He still had his workouts with his team, his strength and conditioning, his mechanics and all that. So he still worked on everything he needed to this offseason without the basic offseason that we've accustomed to. He talked about the somebody asked about all the players that he now has at his disposal. Is somebody going to be more demanding of the ball, like they accused Des Bryant back in the day, or T.O.? He said no. With the guys that they have, they all know about now that they're unselfish. It's more about team winning more than individual stats, which is good to know. It's good to hear. Let's see it done in practice and actual games. That'll make us feel a lot better. They talked about his social justice crusade, how he wrote to the mayor, governor of Oklahoma about the death row inmate and how that's affected him and why he took on such a thing. They talked about how much contact he had with the coaches while he was doing his negotiations. He said that he didn't really have too much contact with them, but when his brother had passed and all the family stuff was going on, they did get in contact with him. They did talk with him. He's had good talks throughout the offseason with the coaching staff, but this is really the first time he's been in the same area as Mike McCarthy, Kellen Moore, and the rest of the coaching staff to really meet face-to-face and, you know, talk. Have questions answered, you know, bring up anything he has to that he needs answered, and they're right there for him. They asked him about if he considered opting out, and he said it never crossed his mind to opt out. He loves the game of football. It's his passion to play, and that it was never considered for him to opt out. But that's a good thing. He's focused. He's laser focused on playing and winning. Hence building the football field for them to train on and everything like that. They talked about looking into his future, and he said he doesn't want to think about that. He's not thinking about future negotiations. He's not thinking about, anything that can occur in the future that he can't change. So he's not going to worry about it. He's just going to take things day to day and go along with it. They talked about the mini bubble that the players have now mostly agreed on. I guess you could say 95% of the players, coaches, and staff have decided to make the Omni at the Star a mini bubble for them during training camp. They have stayed there for home games. That's where they stay, since it's near the Star, and they just take a bus to the stadium. And the hotel can accommodate them for all their needs. So this is their way of making sure nothing happens. I think the players considered this early on. That's why DeMarcus Lawrence felt a lot more confident that he didn't need to opt out, because they did have this plan in place that they can stay in a practically quarantined place without any problems going on, as long as they stayed basically following protocols. And that's great. That's great to hear that they're maturing, that they're all taking this very seriously. They know what's going on. You have Darren Woodson, you have Zeke himself talk about the disease and effects it could have on you and everything. So they know that this season's precious if we get it on, and they don't want to screw it up by somebody going out doing something stupid and then having the whole thing shut down. So it's good that they're taking responsibility and getting ahead of this thing. Saw that the New Orleans Saints are also doing the same thing, and I guess it's not practical for every team, but as many teams as can do it should, considering what's going on. And it's the best way to get this season off without a hitch, without having too many problems like Major League Baseball is just a cluster. Then they asked him about CeeDee Lamb and how he's coming along since he's been drafted, and he loves the kid. And they're basically all grouped in the same age group almost. So he's loving it. He says CD is talking to him, Coop, Gallup, everybody involved in the offense to make sure he's soaking it all in. He's learning the playbooks. He's had the practice time with them and everything, and making sure that the offense is going to be ready to play. They're going to be ready to click without any problems. They talked about the coaching staff. What's the difference between now and before? He said now Mike McCarthy and his team have better communication than they had with Garrett and his coaching staff. Take with that as you will, but they basically say that there was poor communication all around, and that's why a lot of the games looked like they were kind of confused, or there was a lot of breakdowns in communication. And he said that with McCarthy, Kellen Moore, and Nolan running everything now, they're tending to cut down on all those miscommunications. And that's good stuff we want to hear. That's what we want to hear. That's attention grabbing, that the problems that existed before with the previous regime is gone, and we can move on. That hopefully a lot of this stuff can be ironed out, and we just handle it on the field. It's good stuff leading up to a good season that we hope to have this year. The only thing that could basically stop the NFL from happening is the NFL. their players, coaches, and staff are the only ones who can screw up this whole thing on their own. Nobody in the outside world should be able to screw this up. If a player, coaching, or staff wants to go out and do something stupid, that's on them. They ruined the season themselves. But that's just some of the highlights from the press conferences today that I caught. Some other Cowboys YouTubers live streamed during it. They got more information. That's weird. But hopefully anybody who has information that they wanted to ask or ascertain from the press conference can get it from me or the other guys, and we can share with you any information that you need to get up to speed with training camp and everything. So that's it for the press conference. Moving on, I saw an article that Joe Looney is taking snaps with the first team, so they're going to start out with him and probably the starting lineup that we had in 2018 when Frederick had the syndrome and had to sit out the season. So it looks like it will be Tyron, Connor Williams, Joe Looney, Zach Martin, and Lael Collins as their starting five. And then they'll rotate in Beatis, McGovern, and all the other linemen that they have kept as backup and depth purposes. We'll have to see how it rolls. I mean, we've done it before. Joe Looney, he's still funny, but he's coming in with a whole different attitude now because now he knows this is his job. There's no way he can lose it unless he screws it up. So I'm happy to see what he can do when it's on, you know. Now you know where you stand with the team and how exactly you can help because you've been there. So it'll be great to see. In other news, Doug Peterson has returned to the Eagles. He was quarantined for 10 days after he contracted the virus. He was asymptomatic. He did have minor symptoms later on, but he recovered well, and he's back with the team. Also heard that Anthony Lynn from the San Diego Chargers, apparently, if you watched Hard Knocks, they claimed that he contracted the virus during the summer, but of course, like a lot of the positive tests we hear about, we don't hear about them until months after the fact, which is, I don't know. TMZ and everybody called out Zeke Elliott as soon as they heard and call him out on anything he does, but when these coaches and staff members are contracting the virus, nobody hears a word until months after the fact. I'm not saying there's a bias, but there's a bias. Anything Cowboys related, they're like right on top of it. Let's report it. We don't care right this moment. Who needs who needs to find out any other information? But then when all these other head coaches seem to have come down with the virus, we don't hear about it until days, weeks, months later, if at all. So take that as you will. That's pretty much it. If anything else comes up, we'll get it to you. It's a good day. We're starting to hear more from the team. We're starting to hear more from the ownership and the coaching staff. We're starting to hear less from Jerry Jones because, you know, usually he'd be pumping the hype of the team all offseason, and this is the weirdest offseason ever because he's not saying a word. And until today, we didn't even know if he was alive, you know. It's kind of scary. But all is well in Cowboys land. We still have 0 positive tests for COVID. The players that were on the list, John Bay Johnson, Savion Smith, have been taken off the COVID-19 list and have been activated. They've released wide receiver Kendrick Rogers to make space for those two to be activated. And that's it. That's all we got for today. Good to finally see some kind of action, press conference, anything from the Cowboys since this whole mess has started. It's been a long time since we last seen the boys on the field. So hopefully any information we get out from Mike Fisher or from the boys themselves It's all good news, and we can hear about whatever's going on in training camp from them, because fans and the media are banned basically from the actual training camp. So we'll just have to wait and see as everybody else. But that's it. That's all. Took up too much of your time, but that's it. Hope you have a nice hump day. Enjoy it. Stay safe out there. The Dallas Cowboy fan, out.